We cannot afford to lose this election to Hillary Clinton, to pack the Supreme Court, to keep the liberal Obama agenda going. We have to be at full strength so that we can win this election.
At the end of the day, no matter the conservative opinion of Donald Trump, Paul Ryan, Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, or anybody else who has sought or will seek to become president of this country, the end game is the same. Do what it takes to ensure America does not remain in the hands of the Democrats and those who follow the liberal Barack Obama way of thinking. It's putting conservatives across America in a very difficult position. Those who have never voted anything but Republican in their lifetimes are vexed by the presumptive nominee for so many reasons. His often insulting mannerisms, his inability to announce a policy proposal and stick with it, his blaming of others for his downfalls, especially blaming the media for what he often claims are the twisting of his words, despite the fact they are presented in the very form he uttered them. His picking of fights with anyone and everybody, reminiscent of a schoolyard bully, his insults at women, his refusal to do or say anything that may have been thought of by somebody else first. Despite all this, Donald Trump is the only person left standing for Republicans in November, and the popular opinion is they want him. Let's begin there. Have John Bachman fill in the rest from a special focus group we put together and hit with some hard questions about Donald Trump. John?
All right, let's go ahead and get started with our focus group. Everybody, thanks for being with us. Our first topic is Donald Trump.
I respect women. I love women. I cherish women.
Raise your hand if you agree with Donald Trump on this issue.
His directness might throw some people off. It does not throw me off at all. I appreciate it.
Here's a guy, he was impeached because he lied. Do you remember the famous, I did not have sex with that woman, and then a couple of months later, I'm guilty. There is nobody that was worse. Nobody.
Do you think this will help Donald Trump?
Hillary Clinton features herself as a feminist, and yet with all this going on with her husband in the White House, she was never there with the women who he abused.
And are you worried that your past could hurt your wife's campaign?
I don't have a response. If he wins the Republican nomination, we'll have plenty of time to talk about it. If Hillary wins, I think I have no interest in getting involved in their politics or doing anything except trying to help Hillary.
You know, I think that he is fair game because he's a past president.
I am not going to respond to the insults and the attacks coming from Donald Trump in this campaign.
I think women will get to choose who the next president of the United States is going to be. And I do very strongly believe that both candidates have to start addressing issues that are very important to women. That includes equal pay, that includes women's rights, health care, job opportunities, education. And I personally haven't heard either candidates really address those issues in any depth.
Then deal me in!
Who do you think is the best person to represent women in the White House?
I think it's Donald Trump.
Boom, boom, boom.
And I think that there are a lot of single issue voters who are women. But I think when it comes down to voting for who's best for our country, as far as security is concerned, and a lot of other, and economics, because if you're not economically sound, social programs don't matter, security doesn't matter, you have to be economically sound.
The issue of women's rights, and for me that's really important because that is all encompassing. It encompasses economics, it encompasses health, it encompasses so many different areas, and for me that is really important when I look and evaluate both candidates.
I'm very much undecided right now. I think the issue is not so much women. I think all those issues are issues that people in general care about, and I'm still waiting to see what the real policies are beyond the rhetoric in the headlines.
I'll throw out a couple ideas. Guys, raise your hand if this is the most important issue to you. The economy. Okay, security. All right, the most important issue, Tom, you can't pick all one, or maybe they're all the same. How about immigration? How about immigration? Who's going to vote decided on immigration? All right, you think immigration? Let's talk about that. Why do you think this is the most important issue to you?
We'll build the wall. Don't worry about it. Who's going to pay for the wall? Not even a doubt, okay?
As far as raising the borders from Mexico, I think that's very important because we do have a lot of illegal immigrants and they are taking jobs away from Americans.
Tom, you're retired law enforcement. Tell us why you think this would work.
It's not just Mexicans that are coming in. We've had terrorism come in through the borders from the south. There's been mass killings down there along that border south of the Rio Grande. So I think it's important that we do that. If they want to come in, they come in through the front door legally.
John?
Yes, I think we mentioned the wall earlier, and I think it's as much a symbol, like the Statue of Liberty. It's a symbol of something. It's a symbol of resistance. You will no longer. America has never been viewed as as weakly as we are now. I mean, we're ignored by the rest of the world. Our armed forces, I've been in the military myself, the armed forces, we have to keep in mind, the president will be commander-in-chief.
I have some concerns about Donald Trump. I also have some concerns about Hillary Clinton in terms of respect. My colleagues, the chatter is off the charts on both sides, and joking, but I hope Costa Rica has a lot of room for Americans to come down, no matter who wins. There's a lot of people who just feel that there's a lack of real understanding or taking the national security situation seriously. But by even Hillary Clinton, who has a lot of experience.
Okay, now we're going to play word association. We're going to ask the voters how they feel about the presumptive nominees. One word description. Tell us how you feel about Hillary Clinton.
Opportunistic.
Deceitful.
Dishonest.
Anti-police.
Untrustworthy.
Unclear.
Determined.
Okay, next up, Donald Trump. One word to describe the way you feel about Donald Trump.
Gutsy.
Courageous.
Strong.
Strong.
American.
Bombastic.
Controversial.
Okay, so not exactly a scientific poll here, but at least we know where these folks stand. A nice cross-section of opinions. Now back to you guys.
And we will be talking to you momentarily on that focus group and so much more. Now, Donald Trump is famous. Republicans are famous, Democrats are famous, everybody we talk about here is famous. There is one way to become famous in a manner of speaking that you do not want to get involved in. That's having a mugshot spread across social media when one imbibes more than one should and then get behind the wheel of a car. It may not be the stuff of presidential platforms, but it is something that needs to be a part of our national awareness. That's because every 2 minutes in America, a person is injured in a drunk driving crash, and almost 30 million people have admitted to driving under the influence. Sometimes it would seem that some of them are actually doing it when they're going to the polling stations. Veteran attorney, constitutional law scholar, and Newsmax contributor Alan Dershowitz is the best person to learn from when it comes to what is at stake here.
Each year, more than 1 million Americans are arrested for drunk driving. I hope you were not one of them. It's a serious problem, and police regularly ask drivers to take a breathalyzer test. If you've been drinking, should you cooperate with the police and take the breathalyzer? It's not an easy question, and there's no easy answer. Some states will argue that you gave implied consent to the test when you received your driver's license and that you can't really say no. If that's the case, you have to obey the law. If you don't cooperate, the police may get a court order to take a blood sample. But in most states, you have the legal option not to take the breathalyzer and to refuse to cooperate. Still, there are other factors that may weigh on your decision. This includes how many drinks you've had, when you had your last drink, what you ate. All of these things may have an impact on how the alcohol will affect you. For example, according to some scientific studies, females need less alcohol to become drunk than their male counterparts. But the law has the same number for both men and women as to how to measure drunkenness. And in some states, the blood level alcohol is set at a very low threshold. Even 2 drinks taken quickly, close to the time of the test, could make you DWI. And what constitutes drunk driving varies by state. In some jurisdictions, age is a factor. The younger you are, the lower the blood alcohol level required for DWI. My advice is that if you're pretty sure you're under the limit, take the breathalyzer. But here's the flip side. If you're absolutely positive that you're over the limit, don't take the test. If you have the legal option not to. Never break the law, obviously. Refusing to take the breathalyzer test may result in serious legal consequences, but those consequences are generally lower than if you were actually found to be DWI. Also, if you refuse the breathalyzer, you can still be convicted of drunk driving based on the policeman's testimony. The police are there to protect you, but you still have rights. Always remain respectful, never mouth off to a policeman, and get familiar with your state rules as to how many drinks you can consume before you're considered to be DWI. Also find out if you have the option in your state not to take the breathalyzer. Follow the law. Exercise good judgment. That's not always easy if you've had something to drink. And act accordingly. I'm Alan Dershowitz for Newsmax TV.
Exercise good judgment. That's a good way to go ahead and lead into what we're going to do right after the commercial break. It's time for you to go ahead and exercise that judgment, if you will. Because here we have, sitting on the options today, Donald Trump and his refusal to release his tax returns. The meeting between Donald Trump and Paul Ryan, and what the public perception will be, and if it will get anything done whatsoever. Because Donald Trump says he doesn't need a unified GOP. Paul Ryan says we need it or we lose to Hillary Clinton and or Bernie Sanders. And also, the continued slam of an American war hero. John McCain's taking it on the chin again. Your phone calls on these issues and a lot more are next. 1-877-NEWSMAX. 1-877-NEWSMAX. Line up. Let's see if you have what it takes to last 30 seconds or more in the talk machine. That's going to be up to you. It all comes up next right here on The Hardline.